Rebecca, you ready? Okay. Good evening. We will call the special meeting of the Auburn City Council to order for February 5th, 2024. We would like to acknowledge the federally recognized Muckleshoot Indian tribe, the ancestral keepers of the land we are gathered on today. We thank them for their immense contributions to our state and local history, culture, economy, and identity as Washingtonians. Tonight, the special city council meeting will be held both in person and virtually. If you would all please rise and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. And Rebecca, would you please call roll?
Deputy Mayor Brown.
Here.
Councilmember Amer.
Here.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Here.
Councilmember Rakes.
Here.
Councilmember Clinton Taylor.
Here.
Councilmember Tracy Taylor.
Here.
Councilmember Trout Manuel.
Here.
All right. Tonight we have two items on the agenda, both discussion items. The first one is item 5A, Department Overview for Parks, Arts, and Recreation. And I'll turn it over to our Parks, Arts, and Recreation Director, Daryl Faber, and Julie Kruger. I still want to say Bruger, you know that.
It's okay.
Because it's a combination of Brewer and Kruger. I used to call her Bruger.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for giving us this opportunity to do an overview of our Parks, Arts, and Recreation Department. I'm joined with Julie here, our Recreation, our Arts and Events Manager, but she's really a lot more than that in our department. So the serious detailed questions in those arenas will go to Julie, and I'll kind of go through the presentation that we have before us. Our division within the city, where there's 58 full-time employees divided into 8 different divisions, and this is your traditional organizational chart that you would see between all of our divisions that we'll quickly walk through during this presentation. I think if we were to actually look through it with intersectionality, you'd actually see that they're all very interdependent on the other one. We can't work in silos like an organizational chart like this. When we have an event in our community, park maintenance gets involved, and marketing gets involved, and field maintenance gets involved. So a lot of things happen between us all, but this is how it lays out for our department. One of the things that we really focus on in our department is actually the power of our park system and how it really makes our community a community. We always think about, we want to make sure that the water runs when we have a sink in our house and the toilets flush and the sewer systems work and all of those things, that the police can respond. But when you ask people about what they're looking for in their community, they want community safety, they want good schools, they want parks and active things to do. They really expect that as really a sole benefit of what government should be providing, and I think we just do an outstanding job with it here in our community. And also the notice that when good parks are in a neighborhood, they are safer, your house values go up. When you make friends, when you come into town, what's a great thing also is when you show up at a playground the first time, you see another parent there with their child. You don't really know where they came from. Are they wealthy? Are they not? What's their background? What's their religion? It's a conversation starter. It goes into t-ball or ballet, and it kind of continues their lives. And as you see, both our staff and community people, they often get involved in our programs when their kids are like 5 or 6, and now a generation later, they're still doing parks and recreation. So we really focus a lot on that, as well as the value we place in having over 600 acres of open space under our control for the environmental background of that as well. So I mentioned the 8 divisions that we have, and this is kind of how they divide out. That percent is by expenditure authority. It's not by what's important, what's not. But that's also how we'll call them out in this presentation. You'll see that we're about a $14 million budget, of which $4 million is recouped back in revenues through what we'll go through in a minute. So that leaves about $9 million of funding, and that's our salaries, benefits, and basically the interfund that we pay to other departments, facilities, IT, all the finance, all the important things that help us do our job. So it's revenue in, revenue out, as well as the interfund, and then a grant from the King County Human Veteran Service Levy. So how do we decide what we're doing? On the bottom of that chart, kind of what we look at is most of our expenses, what I'd call core expenses, core services. When if you have a park, you should probably mow it, irrigate it if it needs to be watered because it might have a sports league on it. Our trails, our open spaces, these are all core services that citizens just all think that we should be doing as just part of living in a community. And then above that, and that's about $6 million of our budget is just taking care of the 600,000 acres. The second part, what I have in the blue here is important items. There's our, they're tax subsidized some and some are self-supporting. Kids sports leagues, ballet, arts and crafts programs, after school programs, items such as that. And those bring in a little over $1 million in recreation revenue and another million or so in rentals, which goes into the top thing. Things that taxpayers shouldn't be subsidizing, your private birthday party, a wedding reception at the Postmark Center. So those are things that I would call value-added items. So that's kind of how we price our programs. So our teen after-school program is $1. If they don't have the dollar, they're coming in anyhow. Because to me, it's super important. It lowers crime. It gives them something to do after school. Some might not say that's a core service. Others would say that's super important. So we try to stay available for all 90,000 of our residents in some funding mechanism and try to get everybody the opportunity to play however they see fit. So the first division is the administration division. It's me, a park planner, and our admin. The admin, actually, there's one in our department, and she works for all the divisions, basically, except for cemetery. And so basically what we're doing is managing all of the divisions as well as capital projects. And a lot of community partnerships and the advisory boards that we'll talk a little bit at the end. So there's one planner who does a lot of grant writing as well as manages our smaller projects. When you see a new playground go into a park or maybe a renovated trail system, we handle that inside. If there's a larger project, construction of the Postmark Center, we really share a lot of that with Ingrid's team, where they have trained project managers. So if it gets above kind of the $500,000 size, we usually try to turn that over to the engineering side, and the small ones we manage ourselves. So I'm going to flip over to arts, theater, and events. I'm going to throw Julie on the spot here. She'll talk a little bit about the arts division. Super proud of it, as well as what's going on with the theater, not construction-wise, but just what we've been transforming into in events.
So I guess on the arts side of things, we've got the Postmark Center for the Arts, which we just opened last September, a beautiful transformed historic building into a new arts center. And then a variety of other programs. So public art, we've got a huge public art collection, visual arts, literary arts, arts education, so classes that people can take, and then community art. So you'll see the sculpture gallery that's downtown, or you'll see the art on Main Street, or we've done piano, decorated pianos before, community benches, or murals. So lots of opportunity for community to participate in art as well. On the theater performing arts side, we'll talk a little bit more about the Auburn Avenue Theater a little bit later, but on the performing arts end of things, it's live music, tribute shows, comedy shows, kid shows, full-scale theater production. So the Auburn Community Players are a volunteer kind of core of actors who produce usually 2 shows a year. And then we have the junior players, and they're kind of a summer camp for us, a 3-week summer camp that results in a theater performance as well. Right now, shows are on the road. So we're at Green River College, we're at the golf course, we're at the Auburn Performing Arts Center, we're at the Postmark. So we take those shows on the road right now until we have a theater back downtown. Excuse me. And then on the event side of things, our team produces most of the large-scale special events in town. Clean Sweep, a volunteer event that has about 600 people come out and do community work in our parks and trails and around town. Pet Palooza, a huge pet festival at Game Farm Park. Kids Day and the 4th of July, both at Les Cove Park in the summer. A Veterans Parade and Santa Parade down Main Street. And then the 16-week Auburn Farmers Market in the summer from June through September. And then we do a host of free, smaller scale summer events. Kids Summer Stage, Summer Sounds, Friday Night Flicks as well.
I'll add briefly to the Postmark Center. I think you've all had a chance to be in there, and right now there's an amazing exhibit of Muckleshoot artists that we're just blessed to partner with, and it's so great. It's a real example of when you do the right thing, such as rehab this building and create relationships, positive things come out of it. And we're just about ready to go out to bid on the lower level. We received a grant for that as well of just short of $1 million, I believe it was. And so we're got the bid documents done. And it's pretty much ready to go out to bid. So hopefully by summer or late summer, we'll have the lower floor renovated as well, which will be some more classroom space as well as spaces for artisans to do various projects, and a larger dance area for youth and adult as well.
Daryl, do you want questions during, or do you want to hold off till the end?
Either's fine, whatever. I'm comfortable with either. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, I just had a question. Councilmember Troutman, your microphone and.
Thank you. I just had a question. How much does it cost for people to take part on these classes, and is there a cost to it, or?
It depends a lot on what the class's activity is and the age group they're offering it for. If it's an adult class, it covers all of its costs plus a little bit of a profit. If it's a youth class, it's typically self-supporting or subsidized. So it really depends on what the class is.
Okay, that's good to know.
Quite
the
low income, like if
subsidized.
you're not low cost, if like a ballet class through us is maybe $40 for 7 weeks versus at a private studio it'd be much more.
Okay, I'm just looking at lower income people that want to take part on this and they can't afford it, so.
Yeah, there's
is
also
there-
a scholarship program available. We repurposed some of the ARPA funding a year and a half ago for a scholarship fund, so we use that also to help families in need out. There's a set amount that a group could use during a year for their family.
All right, thank you, Daryl.
You bet.
I'll add too, we also offer the Outrageous booths at most of our summer festivals. That's free art making activities that kids can participate, actually anybody can participate in. So that's an opportunity. And then the Postmark coming this spring and into the summer will be offering Saturday kind of drop-in activities
Okay.
that will feature a kid craft element, or actually all ages, to come in and learn an art making type free.
Great, that's good to know, so that way those individuals that want to find something to do and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilmember Rakes.
Good evening. I have a question for you. With you doing the lower second, or the lower thing, I'm very excited about. And with the theater coming down, is that going to put the alley out of use or for most of the summer, or?
That hasn't been determined how they're going to stage, but probably during the brief period of the demolition, I'm assuming that will have
Right.
to go down, but we don't anticipate it staying closed.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Other questions before they continue? Okay.
Yeah, so the core of a lot of our services is our recreation programs, and that's the way they're divided throughout the some of the coordinators do various areas such as sports versus general recreation and camps. We have one of the most outstanding specialized recreation programs anywhere for people with special needs, and we really focus on young adults and adults, where a lot of the service organizations, social service, they kind of drop out. So whether it's athletics through Special Olympics or just going out to eat in a public setting, it's a great program as well. And then our community fitness has really taken off since we built the community center, and last summer we started doing free fitness in the park, which got very popular as well, whether it's yoga at Sunset Park or Pilates at Lee Hill. Just drop-in fitness as part of our community health program. And then facility rentals, those are the facilities that we rent, and we bring in about just over $500,000 a year in facility rentals. So if you're looking for a place to camp out at Game Farm Wilderness, or a wedding, or an anniversary, or class reunion, we have a person who coordinates all of our rental activities as well. And that's a big part of what we're doing. All of our programs, we're just looking at the numbers. We finally, after 2 years, we got back to pre-COVID, way more usage, but our revenues now are above the pre-COVID after kind of having a decline. So people kind of went inside, got internal, found their park system, and now are really picking up their activities again, which is great. One of our great programs, we converted the senior center into the rec teen center, and it's hopping every day after school. and also has other times available in the maker space there. So Keisha does a great job with that program, and Kirsten helps out as well. And I was just in there this afternoon, and there's probably 40 kids after school, staying out of trouble, building relationships, a chance for homework, a chance for what you typically want to see your teen doing after school. We really focus on the junior highs or the middle school age here. We attract a few older, but most of the kids, when they get their driver's license or to high school, have their own avenues for whatever they're doing, good or bad, hopefully good. But that's really our market there, and it's just been a great program. And it really, if you want to see Auburn's diversity, programs like this, it just looks like Auburn, and it's wonderful.
I will add too, we have an awesome partnership with the Auburn School District for this program, where the buses actually take the kids from their school, bring them to the rec, and then the bus comes back to the rec, picks them up, and brings them back to their school, so they can walk home from more in their neighborhood area instead of coming to the rec. A lot of the downtown schools like Auburn High School will walk over. They don't have bus routes, but all the other middle schools and high schools bring a bus to the rec and then bring them back to their area.
Yeah, at 5 o'clock, there's like 4 buses all lined up to go out to return them to their middle school neighborhoods. And it's the lifeblood of that program, because transportation's everything, and we don't have to do it. A program we've really focused on the last few years, you can tell in that bottom lower left picture, we've used a lot of grant funds through the county and the state and some local funds to build up a huge outdoor pursuits program. We found that a lot of the youth in our community had never even been to Mount Rainier. They've never been on the water. Just their either their family situation or whatever, their passions, they just hadn't been exposed to it. So we've really taken off on our outdoor pursuits program. It's the highlight of a lot of kids' summer or outdoor camps. And at the same time, we're right now finishing construction on the mountain bike park at Cedar Lanes that we'll talk about in just a second. And this is really for all ages. A lot of it's the teens, but now we've got all of our seniors out snowshoeing and parasailing from Poo-Poo Point, stuff you'd never expect to happen. But once they got exposed to it, it took off. And there's a hiking group and a walking group through that as well. Speaking of the senior center, there's 4 full-time employees there, and it just lights your day up when I walk in there almost every morning to grab a cup of coffee. And the energy that happens in there it's amazing. I like to say there's 2 generations of seniors in there. There's kind of that active group of 60 to 80-year-olds, and then other 80 to 100 that aren't active but still want a place. It might be their only good meal or a meal of the day. It's definitely a lot of their best friendships. And they've taken those groups to everything from active dance and pickleball and hiking to just as importantly, social skills and the like. You can go to the next slide. One of the great things that we've been able to add is with a grant from King County Veterans Senior Service Levy was our program where we now are able to help people get in the right line for their social services. It's so complicated between phones and processes, and somebody on the verge of homelessness, etc. Now they can get in the right line, they can have translation services, and last year we dealt with 161 clients, 145 new cases, worked with Kent, with the police department, with other departments to get people in the right line to make their life in Auburn just a little bit better.
Daryl, Deputy Mayor has a question.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
Mayor. Daryl, I just a comment, actually. Last year, I was able to attend your volunteer lunch with the Senior Center volunteers, where you recognize the work of the Senior Center volunteers. I was at a table of 8 or 10 other people, the volunteers, and I have to tell you, some of the nicest folks I've ever met, and just interested in what everybody's doing, and it was just a most pleasant recognition. And I recommend to my fellow council members, if you get a chance to go to that lunch, please do so.
We had, thank you. Last year we had 12,000 volunteer hours at the Senior Center. That's like 6 FTEs in volunteer hours, and there's 110 volunteers. I like to say they're the hardest group to fire. They're very passionate, and sometimes they get in the way, but the outcomes far outweigh some of the headaches. And whether it's the food pantry or any of the programs, we just rely on them, and it's as good for them as it is for us. It's amazing. Yeah. So this program we're really excited to have on board. We're actually a hub for South King County, Auburn, Algona, and Pacific. We reach out to that group of cities is how we're funded. We also have our great White River Valley Museum and the farm. A couple of the numbers on that, the museum is another great facility of our community, and they had 9,000 guests last year, and 500 either employees, council, citizens went through the Racial History of Auburn program. That's new to us last year, and I think it really enlightened a lot of people as to Auburn, what it came from, its strengths, its weaknesses, its core. And so really excited about that. Hillary Pettinger on our staff is just, she really understands history and racial equity, the problems that we've suffered through and how that relates to how we can be better moving forward. So 500 people went through that, and outside organizations are starting to catch on that we're doing that, and then we're charging a fee for that as well. Also at the museum, there's a great exhibit that opens in this coming week. Going to draw a blank on her name. Oh.
Marita Dingus.
Yeah,
Marita Dingus.
Marita Dingus, and she's a African-American artist who happens to live up by the Mountain View Cemetery. She's renowned all over the region for her artwork. She does recycled art that kind of talks about the trials and tribulations of the Black community throughout American history through her artwork, and it's going to be extremely well received. I'm sure it'll get television press as well. So that opens next week, and they rotate 4 exhibits a year through the museum, as well as kids programs that are the school district and us have a great relationship there. That relationship continues on to the historic Mary Olson Farm, which is located just north of the Auburn Golf Course. That 67 acres of open space was preserved through a Conservation Futures grant about 30 years ago. And all the first graders in Auburn go through there to learn about where their food comes from. Some of these kids have no idea that a potato comes out of the ground somehow and ends up as a French fry, but we teach that, as well as I believe it's the 6th graders learn about salmon restoration, the quality of importance of water quality, the value of trees, etc. And we've kind of gone into a little bit of event management out there as well. Every year we're doing the Hops and Crops Festival, which attracts about 750 people, as well as about 12 microbreweries, and a Luzio light show, which had, I think, almost 2,000 people at it last year, which lights up the trees. You can see the middle photo there. That's on the original farmhouse, but they light up the whole community with these artisans that work in the art world. And then every summer we have an artisan resident there as well. The golf course, I think we have one of the finest municipal golf courses in the state. We get about 50,000 rounds a year. We're able to maintain a price point that most people can afford. Golf has gotten very expensive after COVID and after Tiger Woods. We're also the home to 4 high school teams there that play at no fee as part of a agreement with the school district, which gets kids the opportunity to get exposed to a lifelong sport. Our men's club is the 2nd largest in the state of Washington with 1,100 members, which aids a lot in our 50,000 rounds. And we have couples club, a ladies club, a merchants league. And we've put a lot of improvements into the course as it relates to drainage over the years, so that our shoulder months, when it's kind of that November, October, February, March, where golf typically was down at our course because the course was so muddy, we're able to get much more year-round play there now. And we have a driving range proposed in the budget that hopefully will increase revenues as well, and we're working on permitting at that as well. By the numbers, park maintenance. Now this is about almost half, well, a quarter of our expenditure authority, but half of our FTEs almost. So I mentioned the developed acres. If you go down that list, you can see why they're so busy. They're way more than mow, blow, and go to the next park. They're event setup. They're the flower program downtown, 120 flower baskets. We have our own nursery where we propagate our flowers to keep costs down. We have a disc golf course, off-leash areas. It goes on and on. For a community of our size, it's a large system, but it meets our needs really well. And what we're trying to do now is continue to convert facilities that maybe are grass into synthetic turf, so we don't have to buy more land, but we can use what we have more often and have better quality of play on those fields. So it's a really great group. We also do the right-of-way landscape maintenance on the main corridors through our department. And I mentioned the downtown flower baskets and the beautification areas, whether it's the Clark Plaza or the Slaughter Memorial, all of the Bicentennial, the Flag Pavilion, anything that basically grows on purpose or needs to be mowed. That's what we do. If there's a weed in the crack of a sidewalk, we pass that on to another department. So yeah, here's the kind of the same thing. Also, we do a lot of our own fabricating. When you see a kiosk in a park, our parks crew probably made that. When you see the pedestals that the public art sits on that we rotate, we do a lot of that work in-house. We've got a tradesman who's just amazing, so we take advantage of that. And they're just great. And we rely a lot on seasonal help as well, both in our department and in the Parks Department and in the Recreation Division. We have a lot of 5-month seasonals that really are important to us because our summer seasons, it's pretty crazy. And a couple of new projects here. Cedar Lanes Bike Park, I mentioned earlier, the bicycle portion in the park was opened last year, and we have a great relationship again with the school district on a Ready to Ride program where kids learn how to ride a bike, and then they go to the park and they can go through the woods. This park 10 years ago had a lot of ill repute going on. Now it's got people in it doing the right thing, so the ill repute has either moved on or decided they wanted to do the right thing. And we're under construction right now on a 10,000 square foot pump track, which is basically, it's about the size of this room, a little, maybe a third bigger, where basically it's a asphalt path where you can basically ride your bike on it without even having to pedal if you know what you're doing. And it's going to be crazy popular right across the street from Pioneer Elementary School is where Cedar Lanes Park is. It's a beautiful 10-acre park. And so that'll be done by this summer, where we're going to really get our summer program going again. And it's a free program, which is really exciting in a very low-income neighborhood. Another project that we've got our funding pretty much secured for phase 1 is 104th Street. When you turn left to go to, instead of up to Lee Hill, if you turn left to go towards the golf course, there's a property there that was transferred to us from the city and the county and the state. And we have a phase 1 development project there that's a mix of state funds and park impact fees, kind of open up the river to some community use. Another spot where there was kind of some bad it just wasn't being managed properly. There weren't enough eyes on it. So we'll be activating it in the next probably year and a half. And then briefly, the theater project that we're working in cooperation with Ingrid's Engineering and Public Works Division on a combined project. I'm thinking she might speak to this in a few minutes as well. She says no. So the red is kind of the Ingrid portion, and the thing surrounding is kind of the Darrell portion. So there's going to be an improvement along Main Street as well as demolition of the existing theater. After 2 engineering reports, the cost of restoring that thing in its current condition doesn't make sense. So we are right now putting together a funding package to replace it. The building to the south of that is the old Nelson's Jewelers, and that was the Heritage Fire. And so the city purchased that.
That was the Max Fire.
The Max Fire, that's right. The city purchased that as well, so we are going to do a project that redesigns how that corner works, widens the sidewalk. The rendering way on the right is nothing other than what I found in a magazine, so don't put that anywhere, including the high-rise apartments. But the goal is to make that corridor arts entertainment zone, and hopefully a public plaza where people can spill out of the theater, get the nightlife going in Auburn, create a place where people want to be in the evening, to help rejuvenate our Main Street and our downtown. So we have a contract with an architect for both the site improvements and the theater, and we'll hopefully be rolling along on this in the next year as well. The last project is future. Hopefully in the next year, the Jacobson Tree Farm is located next to Auburn Mountain View High School. It'll be a phased project. We're beginning to apply for grants to match city impact fees, hopefully to do a phase 1 construction, which will be the non-sports portion, and then in a couple of years after that have enough funding in place to do the athletic portion. Lee Hill has, 15,000 residents and really needs a large community park. We're lucky to have the land. It's an amazing piece of land to do this on. Cemetery up on Lee Hill, or on Cemetery Hill, West Hill. A beautiful site, does about 330 services a year, a lot of pre-need. The revenues there are a little over $2 million annually. It more than covers its costs. It's an endowed care facility where we put money away every year through the sale of property, so that should the land ever sell out, we'll have money in place to maintain it at its current level in perpetuity. I think it's the largest municipally operated cemetery in the state, and Emer and her crew up there just do an amazing job. We have a capital project starting in the next week or two on the westerly portion, a larger area, niche area where people can put the ashes of their loved ones or a scattering ground, because we're sold out of so many of our areas up at the cemetery. So a capital project will be happening there this year as well. It's not part of the general fund. And we invite everybody to get involved, including all of you. Thank you so much when you do come to our events. It means so much for our programmers. I know the community loves to see you when you're out there. And we have 7 different boards, commissions under, or 6 in our department. And then there's always opportunities for volunteers. We welcome everybody in the community to be part of what we're doing. We think it's really important. So I went 1 minute over. Don't charge me. No, Jamie's not here. I'm good. Last week we were giving Jeff Tate a hard time for going over. So, any questions?
Any other questions, council? Councilmember Rakes?
I just have a question about your bike program. Do you do anything for special needs kids for learning to ride?
Yeah, in fact, we have many of our own cycles. We have the adaptive lower cycles. We have the tandem cycles side by side. So we both do that through Jamie's program, through our adaptive recreation program, integrated in our biking program and separate from it.
Do you know what age that goes through? Like, what would be age?
I feel like it goes through adults.
Yeah, no, it's definitely through
Adaptive.
Yeah, I don't think there's an age that it stops. It stops when you
Okay,
can't ride
perfect.
anymore.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
but we
Thank-
have a lot of that equipment.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Trout Manuel?
I had the same question, but I've got another one. On that picture where you have the double rainbows, there's one picture, your slide, go down your slide, I can't remember, it doesn't have a number. What's the topic? By the numbers, park maintenance?
Oh, yeah.
That one where it has the different levels, where's that at? Is that for like outdoor concerts, theaters?
That is it's a walking
Isn't that
trail.
at Gaines? Is that Gaines?
That's Game Farm?
Or Game Farm? Yeah, Game Farm.
Where
Oh,
at, where
that-
is that at?
Oh, the upper one on the right, that's the Chapman Amphitheater at Game Farm. Yeah, it is.
No, it's the,
Oh, no, that's West Hill.
yeah.
That's up at Gaines Park.
That's what I said to start with
Oh, good job, Mayor.
Gaines.
You
Gaines
said
Park.
Gaines Park on the bottom of, what's the name of that development? Not Vistera. Yeah, it's off West Valley Highway, and it's half of a park and half of a storm pond with a boardwalk in it.
Oh, okay, looks pretty cool.
Yeah, and there's a playground down there and a half-court basketball court for that neighborhood above it that I can't think of the name of.
There's very little parking there to do big.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
for,
Yeah.
It's a
it's for
neighborhood park.
neighborhoods, yeah, the
Okay.
neighbors.
I was just curious because it looked huge, and I'm going, when did we do that?
No, it's gotta be old because it's been there longer than me.
Gaines Park has been there for quite a while. It
Yeah,
was-
since it came in as part of that HOA.
Yes.
And then you mentioned something about Tot Lot, not here, but within a conversation, Tot Lot is getting you,
Yeah, the Forest Villa Tot Lot, which is
Yeah.
located just behind the Muckleshoot Casino. We were able to do 2 new playgrounds also with ARPA funding, and that's one of them. It's one of our older Tot Lot, the playground areas, and it'll be going in probably May.
okay, our neighborhood block watch wanted to know so she could invite all the people, all the neighborhoods to come and have the children go and play when you finish it.
Yep, we'll definitely do that once we have the time and place. This past year, we were able to add a new one at Fulmer Park and Auburndale Park.
Okay.
We did little celebrations, so
Thank you.
you bet.
Great presentation.
Councilmember Baldwin?
Thank you, Mayor. With the focus that I'm seeing with the outdoors and with the biking and the work that we're doing also with the school district, I'm curious if this is kind of prepping folks to lead up to ever getting to like a bike bus program for like the after-school programs.
Bike bus?
Bike bus. It's a new trend that's out where you have kind of a leader who you have all the students ride together on their bikes in sort of a mass, if you will. And so there are different school districts who are doing that to have, you know, more activity for kids and their parents. And so it's basically just a mass people riding their bikes instead of taking normal traditional
Love
buses.
the idea, not familiar with it, but anytime we can get people to use pedal power with a bike pedal instead of a car pedal, that's a good day in my world. So I'd love to learn more about it. Auburn's a tough bicycle town.
With the hills.
With hills and roads, but we're doing a lot with the non-motorized plan as well.
Sure.
To help out with that.
I'll send you some stuff.
And we do community rides. If that one slide showed the trailer, we can fit about 24 bikes in there, and so we go everywhere
With that.
biking.
Right on. Thank you.
Councilmember Taylor.
Thank you for your presentation. I would be remiss if I didn't mention dog parks. I know that we have several here in the city. Is there plans to expand and bring in more? Create more?
There's no plans, although there's no plans not to do it either, so it's kind of up in the air. I know Lakeland Hills would really love to see one up in that direction, and Lee Hill, we've considered one at Auburndale Park, where it's kind of a informal off-leash area, but it's not fenced. So there's none in the current plan.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay. Thank you, Daryl. Thank you, Julie. Did you have another question?
Okay. Good evening. So just for the record, so I'm Ingrid Galb. I'm the Public Works Director for the city, and I'm going to go through a quick overview of Public Works. It's kind of tough to follow parks, so you're going to have to bear with me as we go through some Public Works dry stuff. And I'm not going to focus so much on our projects because you guys get a lot of that information from us already. I'm focusing more on what our department does. So with that, one of the things that we developed several years ago for our Civics Academy is we actually put together a video to explain what Public Works is and what we do. So if you want to bear with me, I'm going to go ahead and play that video for you so you can get a really quick overview of our department.
At Auburn Public Works, we design, construct, and maintain roads, sidewalks, and utilities to provide the highest level of service and programs that our residents depend on daily. Our team of professionals work hard to enhance the mobility, safety, comfort, and prosperity of our community. Just imagine what our community might look like without Public Works. The city's Public Works Department includes maintenance and operations, engineering services, and the Auburn Municipal Airport. The Engineering Services Division of Auburn Public Works is located in the City Hall Annex at 1 East Main Street. The Auburn Municipal Airport, also named Dick Scobie Field, is located at 2143 E Street Northeast. The city's Maintenance and Operations Facility is located at 1305 C Street Southwest. Public Works is focused on transportation, drinking water, sanitary sewer, storm drainage, airport design and operations, street preservation, project management, surveying, right-of-way management, standards development, and compliance, just to name a few. At times, you probably see us out surveying streets, inspecting construction work, fixing traffic signals, and inspecting our storm drainage system. But most of our work is done behind the scenes. Our work is continuous, but when we are doing our job right, you don't notice much because everything just seems to be working. That is Public Works. Now let's take a closer look at the various Public Works functions provided by engineering services. Transportation management in Auburn is vital for the thousands of residents and visitors who use our roads daily. Our Transportation and Streets divisions manage approximately 245 miles of paved public roads, which is about the distance from downtown Auburn to Whistler, Canada. They are responsible for managing the complete roadway network, including bridges, traffic signals, flashing pedestrian crossing warning beacons, school zone flashing warning beacons, speed radar feedback signs, fiber optic communications network, streetlights, street signs, pavement markings and paint, and traffic calming. The Traffic Control Center is the hub where data and video from traffic signals, cameras, and numerous other connected devices are processed and monitored in real time, allowing us to implement fine-tuned timing plans and changes for quick responses to traffic incidents, signal failures, or special event traffic. We also conduct approximately 40 speed studies every year to evaluate complaints of speeding, most commonly in neighborhoods. We review numerous issues related to safety and accidents each year. Under our streets are the potable water, storm drainage, and sanitary sewer systems that are planned, designed, inspected, tested, and managed by our utility division. The city's main water supply source is groundwater that comes from wells and springs under the city. Our engineers and scientists routinely monitor the groundwater levels and quality of the water to ensure that it meets all state and federal standards. Although rainfall keeps our city green, when it runs off onto streets, it can carry organic waste, litter, chemicals, and other pollutants through our storm drainage pipes and ditches into nearby wetlands, creeks, streams, rivers, and eventually the Puget Sound. The city's stormwater utility fees are used to plan, construct, operate, and maintain stormwater management systems through drainage improvement projects, routine maintenance activities, public education, and quick spill response to prevent the spread of contaminants. Each summer, we monitor and treat our public stormwater ponds to reduce mosquitoes using Department of Ecology approved products. Our sewer utility collects the sewage from our homes and businesses and conveys it to King County to be treated at their South Treatment Plant in Renton. Our customers can help us prevent blockages in the sewer by not putting oil and grease and so-called flushable products down the drain. We also administer the Auburn Municipal Airport, which is one of the busiest airports in the state with approximately 142,000 takeoffs and landings per year. Users include general aviation pilots, small corporate, law enforcement, and medevac flights. When roadways, utilities, and other facilities need to be expanded, repaired, or replaced, the Capital Projects Group is called into action. This group consists of civil engineers and CAD technicians and is supported by inspectors, surveyors, and other specialists. Surveyors utilize cutting-edge technology to collect and analyze data used for design and construction of projects, and also to support other city functions such as vegetation maintenance and land use activities. Inspectors are the front line that monitors the construction of both public and private development projects to make sure the infrastructure being built adheres to city standards and approved plans, while also ensuring that construction impacts are minimized as much as possible and that public safety is not compromised. The team works together to design and construct public projects, including roadway repairs and improvements that take worn-out roadways and restore them to like-new condition. Many projects also construct improvements that reduce congestion and provide safe travel to all motorists, cyclists, and pedestrians. The engineering group typically builds $25 to $30 million worth of infrastructure or capital projects each year. These projects range from smaller scale projects like the 22nd Street Northeast and I Street Northeast roundabout project to very large projects like the M Street Underpass, the new Community Center, and the South 277th Street Corridor Improvement Project. As you can see, we provide truly essential services and functions that enhance the quality of life of our residents. From controlling traffic patterns and managing our drinking water systems, to constructing and maintaining city roads, sidewalks, water, sewer, and stormwater drainage. We are Auburn Public Works, and we proudly deliver excellence every day for all who live, work, and play in Auburn, Washington.
All right, so that was a lot of information and a very broad overview of what our department does. So to go into just a little bit more detail for Public Works, so we're about 148 full-time employees for the department. That sounds like a lot until you look at everything that we do. As you heard on the video, we're broken down into kind of 3 service areas: the engineering service area, the airport services, and then our maintenance and operations services. So within that, our engineering and our administration, that's about 60 staff. Most of those staff are housed over at the annex across the street from here. About 85 staff are down at M&O, along with 3 additional that are actually part of the engineering services. Those are our signal technicians that are housed down at M&O as well. And then our airport has 3 full-time staff and then several part-time staff. We supplement that staff with seasonals and other interns as well throughout the year, so we're quite a large staff. And you can see from the slide that there's quite a bit of professional licenses that go along with a lot of our staff. So whether it's professional engineers, engineers in training, whether it's our water licenses for the operation of our water system, we have some certified licensed pilots out at our airport, whether it's the arborists that we have down at M&O. So several different locations in there where we have lots of certification to do what we do for the people of this city. So I'm going to start off with the airport. You heard in the video a little bit about the airport. So the airport was actually opened in 1969, so it's been an airport here in Auburn for a long time. There was a period of time for about 14 years where we had a separate private firm actually managing the airport for us, and in 2019 we actually brought that back in-house into Public Works and began managing that with our own staff instead of an external contract. And that has been a very positive change for the airport and a great improvement out there with that administration from people who care about that airport. We have about 450 operations a day. An operation is a takeoff or a landing, to give you an idea of what that is. So it's an extremely busy airport. When you think about the size of that airport and the size of other airports in this state, we are one of the busiest, probably behind Boeing and Renton Fields in how busy we are compared to other airports around this state. We have about 330 based aircraft out there. We also have commercial tenants, which you can see some of those on the map on the screen. And then just to give you an idea of the impact that this airport has, well, we don't have 232 jobs at the airport because we've only got 3 FTEs. It does create 232 jobs regionally. That is also an impact of about $43.1 million onto the regional economy for having that airport there and what that airport provides. As you heard in the video, it's regularly used by medevac as well as law enforcement training, as well as flight training. And it is a self-sufficient airport, and by that I mean it's paid for by the fees that it generates. It takes no general fund revenue whatsoever for that airport. So what do they do out there with those 3 FTEs? So the airport itself is a 24/7 operation out there. We don't staff it 24/7, but we are responsible for that airport 24/7. So they are on call 24/7 for any issues that happen out there, but they're responsible for the operations of the airport. They don't run any of the businesses that are out there or any of the commercial businesses that are out there, but they do make sure that the taxiways and the runways, the lights, all the communications, whether they're communicating with the pilots about issues on the field, they take care of all of that. The general administration for the airport, and then of course the tenant management and the leasing that we do out there, because that is the primary revenue generation that we have for maintenance of that airport, is our tenants, both in the hangars and on the tie downs, and then our business leases. Next up, we have the engineering services. So you heard on the video, we've got quite a bit that goes on within engineering. So primarily it's our capital and construction group, which is both public as well as development, our transportation group, and then our 3 city utilities that Public Works manages, which is the water, sewer, and the storm. So solid waste, finance handles that one, so we don't get involved in that much. Engineering services, so we have several divisions within engineering services. We've got the capital project group and our design engineering, contract administration, our surveying that happens, construction management, again, both capital and development, the transportation engineering management and planning, our traffic signal maintenance and management, and then the water, sewer, and storm drainage engineering management and planning. And in addition, we also have our Geographic Information Services group, which actually provides support citywide for our GIS system for the city. Next, we have the Maintenance and Operations group, and this group handles maintenance and operations for all of those utility and street systems, including our vegetation management, which is a little different than what you heard from Daryl's presentation on parks. We're actually looking at vegetation management on roadsides, so this is where you don't necessarily have sidewalks, but your roadside ditches and your roadside vegetation areas, and then our ponds and our storm facilities. And then we also have our equipment rental and central stores located within our maintenance and operations, and equipment rental is our fleet, and we do the fleet for the entire city, so manage all of the fleet equipment and vehicles. as well as what is our central stores, which is basically the warehouse for the city. So we have a lot of material and equipment that we keep on hand that we provide both for our own staff as well as staff in other departments. What also happens down at our maintenance and operations facility is that's where our department operations center is. So when we're doing an emergency response, typically inclement weather, but could be other types of emergency response, that's where we're going to be operating out of, is that department operations center down at M&O. We also run the city's fueling station down there, so that's the fuel for all the vehicles. And we also have our SCADA system, or better known as our supervisory control and data acquisition system. So that is the system that monitors and that we operate our utility systems through, so water, sewer, and storm. A few of you have been on the tour down there, have seen some of these things. We do plan on doing a tour with the rest of you so that you can get some hands-on to what this actually looks like and feels like out there. So the maintenance and operations group really does all the maintenance for all of the city's facilities. So when you think about that, it's made up of reservoirs, pump stations, springs, lift stations for the sewer system. The one thing on the sewer system that we do not do is we do not do treatment for the sewer system. We actually pay for that with King County to provide that treatment. Storm drainage, we've got our ponds, our swales, the vaults, all of the inspection, the cleaning, flood response that we do from that. We talked about the vegetation management. In addition, that's also where our street sweeping program is, which is also a benefit to our storm system to keep everything that we sweep up off the streets out of the storm system and keep our storm system a little cleaner. And then we've got our street division, which is our one general fund division down there, so it pretty much gets everything else, so all of the road stuff as well as emergency issues, road closures, response, snow and ice events, all of that runs out of our street division. So one big part of what Public Works does that you can tie all of those different groups to is what we would call our infrastructure management cycle. And so this is how do we actually maintain all of that infrastructure that the city is responsible for. And in your packets, I gave you a quick statistics breakdown for all of the facilities. So I'm not going to go through all those numbers here. If you want to go through those numbers and ask me questions later, feel free. But wanted to give you those numbers without going through here. So in order to manage all of that infrastructure, we go through that infrastructure management cycle, which is basically planning, funding, design and construction, and then operating and maintaining. And it's a cycle that's continuous, so it never really stops. We're always moving from one to the next for a particular project, system, or location, and then we're doing it again. Once we get to that operation and maintain, we're going to go back to that planning process. So that planning process starts off with our comprehensive plan, which is a 20-year plan. And as you know, we're doing an update to that plan this year. So you're going to see our water, sewer, storm, and our transportation plans coming back through this group for looking at that 20-year plan. From that information, we create our capital facilities plan or our transportation improvement plan, which is that 6-year plan for what are we actually going to try to get money for and spend money on. And then that feeds into the budget, and that's actually where we fund a project and we actually put it into initiating, moving it along in the process. Once it's budgeted, then we do that design process, property acquisition, environmental permitting, everything that goes along with that. Then we move to construction, then we move to maintenance and operation once we're done building it, and again, we start all over again. So, jumping into kind of the second stage of that, how do we fund a project? So Public Works is responsible for managing 16 distinct budgets within the city's overall budget. That's including our operating and our capital funds, as well as it's a mixture of all the different types of funds, general revenue versus special revenue, our enterprise and proprietary funds, as well as our internal service funds. All of that overall, Public Works is about $100 million annually, give or take. It fluctuates in there mostly because of the capital projects that we do. And of that $100 million a year, about $52 million of that is our operating costs. So that's what it costs for our equipment, our people, and to run and maintain all of those infrastructure systems and our fleet. Our capital improvement program, somewhere between 30 to 50 million a year. Again, just depends upon how much funding we have for that year, how many grants, whether we've issued bonds, and what that program is. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we have the King County Sewer, which we pay for our treatment, and that is a pass-through that we do. So we collect between $20 to $22 million a year that we end up paying to King County for that treatment of the sewer system. So overall, the general fund makes up about 15% of our overall department, and that's basically our general services that have nothing to do with the airport or the utilities, our street division, and our transportation division. And you can see over on the side of that, I've broken down a little bit, give you kind of an idea of how the operating costs for the department break down across those different funds. So where does that money come from? So when you look at how we do operations and capital and all the revenue, how do we actually get that $100 million to pay for everything that we do? So we have several different types of funds. As I mentioned, we've got the enterprise funds, which are the water, the sewer, the storm, and the airport funds. These are self-sufficient funds, meaning that they are funded by the revenues that they generate. So whether it's user fees, the utility rates, the system development charges, permits and application fees, grants and loans, or in the airport's case, the tenant and land leases and the rents, those all can only be used to fund that particular enterprise program, whichever enterprise generated that. Transportation is a little different because it's a mixture of general and special revenues, so it's a mixture of a whole lot of different funding sources to create that program. So you've got gas tax, the permit and application fees, grants and loans, traffic impact fees. We have the 2.5% utility tax, partnerships and agreements for those funds, real estate excise taxes, and the 0.1% sales tax that the Transportation Benefit District, you all last year levied that so that we could start generating some additional revenue for transportation projects. And then we have the equipment rental, which is an internal service fund because we're providing that fleet services across the entire city. All the departments pay into that fund for the vehicles that they purchase and the equipment that they use, and they pay in every year for that replacement process so that there's always money in that account for the replacement of the vehicles and the equipment as they come up and they need to be replaced at the end of their service life. So the blue that's actually highlighted on this slide is specific because the funds that are generated in those different categories typically can only be used for capital projects. And in many of those cases, like grants, they can only be used for the specific project that we got the grant for. So when you look at all these revenues and you look at the amount of the Public Works Department, not all of those funds can be used on anything that we want to do. Some of it is very restricted in what we can do with them, including all of again, those blue highlighted items that are in there. So design and construction. So I know you've gone through this in the update that staff did a couple weeks ago for you with kind of what we did in 2023, so I'm not going to go through a lot of that. And you heard in the video that we do a lot of work on the design process and construction of getting things done. How long it takes to get that done is dependent upon the complexity and size of the project and the types of permits and or property acquisition that might be necessary for that. Sometimes it might take us several years to get a project through a design process, even though it may only take us one construction season to get it built. But that is unfortunately what it takes to get those things done. We also do a lot of outreach for our projects with the community, depending upon the type of project that it is, dictates to us kind of how do we do that outreach, whether we're doing flyers, mailers, door hangers, whether we're doing a public meeting with them, whether we're doing a virtual open house meeting on our website, or whether we're doing an in-person open house with them to gather input and feedback on our projects. It just depends upon what we're doing, where we're doing it, what those impacts are. But once that project is designed, then we move into that construction phase. And that requires us to go through a public bid process. So that's all dictated by state law and by city code on what we can and can't do in that bid process. Usually involves prevailing wages. Sometimes it involves the disadvantaged business enterprise requirements or training requirements or other federal requirements that might come along with those. Once we receive those bids, we go through an evaluation of those bids process to determine who is the lowest responsible and responsive bidder. And those are all as defined through state law and the city code, as well as to how we make that determination. And I think you all have at least seen one award document come through your email from me with a process of why we've awarded that project. So we do touch base as we make those awards for those budgeted projects with the council. And then once it's been awarded, we go through, again, that inspection, management of that construction, traffic control, all the communication with the community on that construction. That all happens during that process. And then last, maintenance and operations. So wanted to spend a little bit of time on this. So we do have a asset management system that we use called Cartograph that allows us to both get information from the community and requests and actually assign tasks to our staff to complete the work. So I gave you the totals on this for 2023. So the requests that we received, that can be both external requests from the public as well as internal from other city staff, was just under 6,000 requests. That's about 22 or 23 requests for every workday as that comes in. And we did over 25,000 tasks. Now, a task can be one person spending 15 minutes doing something, or it can be 8 people spending 3 days doing something. So that doesn't give you an idea of what the work effort is behind that, but 25,000 tasks means that we're doing over 100 a day on a work day to maintain the system. And you can also see in there kind of the categories of what those requests come in under and what we actually assign those tasks under. So you see a lot of your requests are coming in our streets, so those are going to be our potholes, our signs are down, your typical requests like that, debris in the roadway. Our tasks are primarily, our big one is water, and you can understand that given that that's our most complex system that we need to manage and most highly regulated system. And then last, I'm just going to go through this really quick because I know I'm out of time. So the council interaction, there are several things that you guys need to see from Public Works. We probably bring the most items to the council, with community development being a very close second to how many actions come before you. So you're going to see things like code changes, which could be anything related to right-of-way management issues, right-of-way permit processes, those types of things. Development regulations, so our design standards, you actually heard a little bit of that already. Capital funding and approval, so as we get grants and as we go after funding. Our regional studies programs, the other agency projects that are out there, so that's a lot of coordination we do, especially on the transportation side regionally. We also have a transportation advisory board. We have an airport advisory board. So a lot of the items related to transportation and to the airport, we run through those boards before we bring them to the council as well to get their input on those actions. Franchise agreements and hearings, you're going to hear about those as well. This is how we manage our right-of-way for third-party users. So this would be your telecommunications company, power, gas. How do we regulate their use within our right-of-way? We do that through franchise agreements. And then planning documents, we talked about this earlier. The comp plan, you're going to see that one. The TIP, those are things, the TIP you're going to see every year. The comp plan, you're going to see that this year because it is a major update for all of our comp plans for both utilities and transportation. Right-of-way vacations, that is basically when the city is considering basically releasing its interests in right-of-way, so where a roadway or a future roadway might go. A lot of the times that we release right-of-way, it's going to be in an unopened location. Typically, those are in response to property owners that are asking us to do something. So there's a process that we go through to consider that with criteria. And again, you're going to see that probably in the next few weeks as we bring you the first one for the year for that. Payback agreements are agreements that developers usually instigate because they're doing something like building, let's say, a pump station where they need it for their development, but we need them to build additional capacity because we don't want to waste our time building a pump station and have to replace it for the next development. And so the payback agreement allows us to set up a process basically to collect the fair share from other people that build after them that will use that pump station to pay that developer back for that investment. Easements or property purchases. The code currently allows the city engineer to do a lot of acceptance and purchasing of property related to development projects and related to capital projects, but anything outside of that budgeted process basically comes back to the council. And then interlocal agreements. And I'm going to finish now because I'm already 4 minutes over.
Any questions, council? Sure, Councilmember Trout Manuel.
When they do the tours to have the new council go and look at all of our water treatment centers, facilities, I was amazed and just shocked to see how clean these facilities were, and the smell is not there. So thank you, because I've gone to another city and I did a tour and I was holding my nose. So we're doing a fabulous job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Councilmember Baldwin.
Just a quick one on the M&O page where it was showing all the different tasks that were being achieved in the day. I think it wasn't the top one, but maybe about 3 or 4 down, it mentioned equipment rental is taking a pretty high number of those. Is that us having to go shuffle rented equipment around with our projects, or are we renting stuff out to others?
So equipment rental, so the task part of that, that's everything that we do. So it's not necessarily generated by a specific request from the public. It's tasks that we normally do. So that would be your services and your normal maintenance on the vehicles that you're going to see in there under equipment rental. So every time that they're replacing a filter or they're doing those types of things, whenever they do that service on that vehicle, that's going to be a task in there.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? It's not us renting
No.
equipment. Yeah, no.
No.
It's not us renting equipment. Others? All right. Thank you, Ingrid.
Thank you.
All right, this was a special city council meeting before our regular city council meeting, so I am going to adjourn this meeting. We need to give them in back a chance to switch over to the, to be ready for the regular council meetings, so give us just a couple of minutes.
Mayor, we heard from multimedia that they're actually ready to go whenever you are.
Okay, I need a minute.
Okay.
Good evening. We will call the Auburn City Council meeting for February 5th, 2024 to order. And we would like to acknowledge the federally recognized Muckleshoot Indian Tribe, the ancestral keepers of the land we are gathered on today. We thank them for their immense contributions to our state and local history, culture, economy, and identity as Washingtonians. The meeting is scheduled at 7 p.m. and will be held in person and virtually. If you would all please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. And Rebecca, would you please call roll?
Deputy Mayor Brown,
Here?
Councilmember Amer,
Here.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Here?
Councilmember Rakes,
Here.
Councilmember Clinton Taylor,
Here.
Councilmember Tracy Taylor,
Here?
Councilmember Trout Manuel.
Here.
Thank you. We will move right into appointments this evening. The first one, the only one this evening, Junior City Council. City Council to approve the appointment of Michaela Pedraja to Auburn Junior City Council for a 2-year term expiring August 31st, 2026. Is there a motion? Deputy Mayor Brown.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would recommend approval of the appointment for Michaela Pedraja to the Junior City Council for a 2-year term to expire August 31st, 2026.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Trout Manuel.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Brown.
Thank you. Once again, this is an opportunity for a young person to serve her community as the rest of the Junior City Council does. We are promoting leadership within our community, and I recommend the council approve this appointment.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor of the appointment of Michaela Pedraja to the Auburn Junior City Council for a 2-year term to expire August 31st, 2026, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. Motion passes, and we welcome and thank Michaela for her interest and leadership. All right, we do have one proclamation this evening, and it is for Black History Month, so I'll go over to the podium. And I ask our Chief Equity Officer, Brenda Goodson-Moore, to come up and join me. Excuse me. Mayor's Proclamation. Whereas Black History Month is celebrated every February in recognition of achievements by Black Americans and all people of African descent in the United States. Historian and author Dr. Carter G. Woodson created Negro History Week in 1926, and this tradition was expanded in 1976 to Black History Month. And whereas during Black History Month, we maintain that Black history is American history, as we celebrate the many achievements and contributions made by Black Americans to our economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development. And whereas the City of Auburn acknowledges the long history of forced enslavement and institutional and structural racism towards Black people, and calls our attention to the continued need to battle racism and build a society that lives up to its democratic ideals of freedom, justice, and liberty for all. And whereas the City of Auburn's diversity, equity, and inclusion work reflects our commitment to racially just policies and practices that create opportunities for all people to thrive. And whereas the 2024 national theme for the observance is African Americans and the Arts. African American art is infused with African, Caribbean, and the Black American lived experiences in the fields of visual and performing arts, literature, fashion, folklore, language, film, music, architecture, culinary, and other forms of cultural expression. And whereas the City of Auburn is proud to honor the history and contributions of Black Americans in our country and our community, and we continue to work towards becoming an inclusive community in which all residents, past, present, and future, are respected and recognized for their contributions and potential contributions to our community. And now, therefore, I, Nancy Backus, Mayor of the City of Auburn, Washington, do hereby proclaim February 2024 as Black History Month. Let us all draw inspiration and courage from those who came before us and those who are here now as we continue the work toward full equality and representation in our city, dated this 5th day of February 2024. Brenda, hand that to you, and I'm sure you have a few words you'd like to share.
Just a few. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Black History Month, Black history is American history. It's a woven tapestry of creativity, resilience, and triumph. Thank you for continuing to recognize and honor the contributions of Black Americans that shape and continue to shape our country and our beautiful community. Thank you.
All right, do we have any agenda modifications this evening?
No, we do not.
Thank you. All right, we will move to audience participation. This is the place on the agenda where the public is invited to speak to the city council on any issue. Did we receive any correspondence or written public comment, or do we have anyone online wishing to provide comment?
No.
All right. All right, then we will move to in-person public comment. Participants, let's see, where am I here? If you have public comment this evening, we ask that you please come forward to the podium, provide your name and city of residence for the record, and limit comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone that would like to speak this evening? Anyone that would like to speak this evening? All right, we will move on. I believe we have no correspondence for council review. So we'll move to council ad hoc committee reports. Council ad hoc committee chairs may report on the status of their ad hoc council committee's progress on assigned tasks and may give their recommendation to the city council, if any. We have the finance ad hoc committee, and that is chaired by Councilmember Baldwin.
Thank you, Mayor. The Council Ad Hoc Finance Committee, consisting of Councilmember Amur and myself, reviewed 2 sets of claims vouchers. For those dated January 31st, 2024, and noted in the header as 2023 expenses, we reviewed 37 pages of claims vouchers, including 5 wire transfers, for a total of approximately $3.19 million. For those also dated January 31st, 2024, and noted in the header as 2024 expenses, we reviewed 18 pages of claims vouchers, including 2 wire transfers, for a total of approximately $8.14 million. The committee also reviewed 1 set of payroll vouchers for the period covering January 11th, 2024 to January 31st, 2024, totaling approximately $3.21 million, with that amount including payroll check numbers 539563 through 539564, as well as electronic deposits. All questions from the Ad Hoc Finance Committee were answered by staff, and with completion of this review, the committee recommends that council approve the vouchers. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we will move on to the consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered by the City Council to be routine and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Is there a motion? Deputy Mayor Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I would move the adoption of the consent agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Amer.
I second.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Brown.
Thank you, Your Honor. The consent agenda consists of the following: minutes of the January 16th, 2024 and January 24th, 2024 special city council meetings. Minutes of the January 16th, 2024 regular city council meeting. Minutes of the January 22nd, 2024 study session meeting. Claim vouchers and payroll vouchers as described by Chair Baldwin. And that is the total of the consent agenda.
Thank you. Council, are there any items that you would like removed for separate consideration? Councilmember Clinton Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to request at this time that our claim voucher for Your Money Matters be pulled for separate consideration.
And Councilmember Taylor, I think you'll just want to remove the claims vouchers, both sets, for separate consideration, and not just the one item in there. But you would ask that the claim vouchers be removed from the consent agenda for separate consideration. Correct?
Correct.
All right.
Correct.
All right. We will pull item D, claims vouchers for 2024. So items A, B, C, and E are the items that council will vote on. All those in favor of those items on the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, please say no. Items A, B, C, and E have passed. Item D, the claims vouchers, we will be considering separately. And Councilmember Clinton Taylor, I understand that you will be abstaining from that vote, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor of item D, claims vouchers, please say aye.
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 All opposed, please say no. Any abstentions? You can say aye for abstention.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes. All right, moving on, we have no unfinished business or new business, so we will move to ordinances. Ordinance number 6931, an ordinance providing for the acquisition by eminent domain of property located near or adjacent to Auburn Way South within the city of Auburn, Washington, for roadway widening improvements for project CP 1622, Auburn Way South widening, Hemlock Street Southeast to Poplar Street Southeast, declaring public use and necessity and providing for severability and an effective date. Is there a motion? Councilmember Tracy Taylor.
I make the motion for this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Trout Manuel.
I will second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Tracy Taylor.
This ordinance provides for acquisition of property rights for the Auburn Way South widening project through its condemnation for 12 properties owned by 9 different parties. This is needed. Property rights includes right-of-way, temporary, and permanent easements.
Thank you. Questions or comments from council? All those in favor of ordinance number 6931, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. Ordinance 6931 passes. Resolution number 5756, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute and administer an agreement accepting a grant from the Washington State Department of Ecology for implementation of requirements of the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System Municipal Stormwater Phase 2 permit. Is there a motion? Councilmember Tracy Taylor.
I'll go ahead and make the motion on that one, Mayor.
So you want to move to adopt?
Sorry. Yes, I move to adopt Resolution 5757.
5756. 5756.
Apologies, 5756.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Baldwin.
I'll second the motion to adopt resolution number 5756.
Thank you. Councilmember Tracy Taylor.
This is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement between the City of Auburn and the Department of Ecology to implement the 2023 through 2025 Local Solid Waste Financial Assistance Grant Program and to accept and expend program grant funds.
Thank you. Questions or comments? All those in favor of resolution number 5756, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. Resolution 5756 passes. Resolution number 5757, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement between the City of Auburn and the Department of Ecology to implement the 2023 through 2025 Local Solid Waste Financial Assistance Grant Program and to accept and expend program grant funds. Is there a motion? Councilmember Baldwin.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve resolution number 5757 and accept the grant.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Amer.
I second.
Thank you. Councilmember Baldwin.
Thank you, Mayor. The Washington State Department of Ecology is requesting to enter into an interlocal agreement with the City of Auburn for the 2023-2025 Local Solid Waste Financial Assistance Grant Program. Ecology has appropriated a 75% grant in the amount of $97,612 for the city to promote both waste reduction and recycling. The remaining 25% match of roughly $32,000 will come from a King County Waste Reduction and Recycling Grant. And the grant funding, this is the exciting part, is going to be used to support the following: contamination reduction in recycling at multifamily properties, community yard sale, classroom presentations, a milk dispenser pilot program with the Auburn School District, outreach at city-sponsored events, and a recycling collection event. And with that, the aim of this grant spending is to reduce residential waste by 3 tons increase residential recycling by 3 tons, reduce waste in schools by 22 tons, and collect 2 tons of material for recycling through collection events, as well as diverting 9 tons of business organics away from landfill. So, pretty good business here. And that's all.
Thank you. Questions or comments? All those in favor of resolution number 5757, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. Resolution 5757 passes. Resolution number 5758, a resolution accepting a grant award from the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs for body-worn cameras. Is there a motion?
Mayor.
Councilmember Taylor. Clinton
Yes, ma'am.
Taylor.
Thank you. I move for adoption of resolution number 5758.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Romero.
I second.
Thank you. Councilmember Clinton Taylor.
Thank you. City Council to adopt resolution 5758, authorizing the city to accept a $318,000 grant funding from the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs to be worn camera program. The Auburn Police Department is a recipient of a $318,526 grant from the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs. This grant is for the purpose of assisting law enforcement agencies to establish, expand, and or maintain body-worn camera programs. The grant award is specific to the police department and can be utilized in the following areas: the initial purchase, maintenance, and replacement of body-worn cameras, ongoing costs related to the maintenance and storage of data recorded by the body-worn cameras, costs associated with public records, requests for body-worn camera footage, and or hiring of personnel necessary to operate a body-worn camera programs. Funds received under this grant must be utilized by June 30th, 2024.
Thank you. Questions or comments? All those in favor of resolution number 5758, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. Motion passes. All right, we have come to the end of the business portion of the meeting. We will move to mayor and council member reports. At this time, the mayor and city council may report on significant items associated with their appointed positions on federal, state, regional, and local organizations. We will begin with Deputy Mayor Brown.
Thank you, Your Honor. It's my privilege to report on the fact that one of my duties as deputy mayor is to support the junior city council with a report from our city council and have interchange with the junior city council. Under the leadership of Chair Emily Harris, she provides excellent leadership to the junior city council. And like our city council, the young women outnumber the young men on that council. But the junior city council is also a diverse council, a group of young leaders, and reflect the community we represent. When I think about the high character of the young women and men on our junior city council, it gives me great confidence for the future of our city. That junior city council meeting is a recurring meeting for the fourth Wednesday at 7 o'clock, and I know that they would be very excited for any of us that wanted to come and support them. So I recommend it, and they would be anxious to hear from you.
But only 3 at a time.
But only 3 at a time. Yeah, we can't have dual city councils. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Rakes.
So I attended my first King County Department of Health meeting, and the main focus was on how the hospitals are getting overrun with the RSV, COVID, flu cases right now, and how they were talking about implementing the mask mandate for those facilities. I also attended Dawn's Place the other day, the new one that King County bought for to fill for the homeless at Clareton Hotel. I was very impressed with the way they have decided to pick who's going to go there. I like the idea that that they were going to go through the Ray of Hope and the food bank because those people have already reached out for help. So it's very interesting. I love that part of it.
Thank you. Councilmember Clinton Taylor.
Nothing yet.
Thank you. Councilmember Tracy Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had the honor and privilege to attend the opening of the Muckleshoot exhibit at Postmark for the Arts with Councilmember Trout Manuel. Had a wonderful time. They did such a spectacular exhibit. It is beautiful. I would budget at least 2 hours of your time to really go through, read, and appreciate what is offered there at Postmark in such a beautiful facility. Also, I am finishing up my term as vice president at the Seattle Animal Shelter Foundation. So we had a meeting talking to some of our incoming new executive leadership team, which was great. And so, yeah, I will finish out my term in March. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Trout Manuel.
Yes.
Microphone.
Thank you, Mayor. On Thursday, I, with the co-chair of the Youth Justice Committee through King County Best Stars for Kids, we met and we went over the 8 new members that are coming in, because this is the year that we start moving around. And we had 6 of our board leaders that stepped down, but they took all the minutes and all the history of what we started to do 2 years ago. So now the co-chair and I are having to start all over again. They dropped the ball. We were supposed to send a letter to the Youth Detention Center because we were trying to partnership with them, and now we're going to have to do that all over again. And I don't know, I think we missed the window on trying to work with those people, but we'll find out. It was really nice to learn that one of them that is coming on is one of our own city constituent, Lisa Sturdith. She's going to be on this committee that I'm on, so I'm really excited that, to have her come aboard and learn what we're doing. She's really passionate about that. Then on Thursday, I met with the Pierce County Committee Domestic Violence, and they're doing amazing things. They also have on their board 2 Pierce County commissioners, council members, which I thought was really a good idea because King County does not have that. Domestic Violence Task Force does not have our county commissioners on there, so I'm going to be talking to them about it. They're also looking, Pierce County, the court system is asking to see if the advocates could be part of attending the courts with their, they're not clients, with the victims, the domestic violence victims. If their prosecutor or attorney, or if their attorney cannot make it, the advocate can ask permission from the victim if she could represent her. And they're going to start looking into doing that. We're meeting, our King County and South City Association are meeting on this coming Thursday. So I'm looking forward to doing that, meeting with them again and talking about what we're doing, what are we going to be doing the next 2 years. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Baldwin.
Thank you, Mayor. Busy couple weeks. So I think from our last session, we had successfully passed our fiscal year 2022 exit audit, which was great. I attended the Cities and Schools meeting where we focused on the opioid and fentanyl crisis. I had regular participation in our Ready Coalition activities. I was able to attend the Auburn Symphony's Love and Legends program, which was fantastic. I had the opportunity to visit 2 new Auburn businesses, Sweet Inspiration Bakery and Shaska Bar and Grill, both of which are great. I also was able to attend the opening of Don's Place, where it was noted we now have much more capacity with that facility accommodating 90 additional residents. And then also had the privilege of attending the Inclusive Auburn event with our speaker, which covered Embracing Our Stories and Superhero Within, which was just a really enjoyable program put on for the community. And I believe that covers most of it. I think that's it. It was good. It was fun and busy.
Councilmember Amir.
Thank you.
I attend some of the event done open house and inclusive event, so I want to really speak about the inclusive event. It was amazing. Embrace our story. I'm not saying it's amazing because we get coffee and food, no, or we get the phone holder. What's amazing, so you can put your phone. I'm talking about what he presented to us. I was talking today with the director, how amazing, like, we're different. I'm not talking he's the thin, I'm more heavy than him, he wears like a turban, I wear a scarf. He mentioned about the white, his birth certificate. We exactly met each other. He was born in New York, he born in Oklahoma. I was white in my birth certificate. I moved here as a white on my ID. Then slowly, I'm not white enough to be white. Then I'm not black enough to be black. So I start turning, okay, where I am, I'm the brown person. So anytime I feel any information, I'll be other. I did not. The way he presented it was like, I went back, I reflect. It was really something I learned from it. It's open eyes, so I'm really hoping we will have more workshop, education to embrace all the diversity here. So thank you for doing the event. And I will come for any event with the coffee. I volunteer with the Special Olympic here in Auburn. I was surprised when they mentioned the place. I didn't know it's near Super Mall. So I find they turn old. If anyone went there, if you know where is Sam Club, it became baseball. Yes.
Fieldhouse USA.
Yes. It was amazing. The way they mentioned it, they didn't say Old Sam Club. I'm from here. So I was driving in the morning, so I spent few hours in this event, and there is many amazing people came from all over the state. Thank you.
Thank you. And the speaker that some of our council members have been referring to is Vishvajit Singh, who he's Captain America, and he was fascinating to listen to, both in the morning when we had a session for our employees, as well as the session in the evening for the community. It has, as Councilmember Baldwin said, been a busy few weeks. I'm going to start back on January 18th. Also thank Deputy Mayor Brown for running the council meeting on the 16th as I was in Washington, D.C. for the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Excuse me. I had the good fortune of meeting with Senator Cantwell, along with Mayor Franklin from Everett, Mayor Pavoni from Renton, and Mayor Ralph from Kent, as we talked about the issue of fentanyl and what it is doing to our communities. We were able to share some information with the senator that she was not aware of, and so she was very interested in how we could work together, how we could move forward. Actually, it was with the long extended release buprenorphine, and she was not aware of that. And so the opportunity to utilize that, it's a once-a-month injectable, and it will allow an individual to not have the effects of an opioid in their system, regardless of whether they use or not, which would give them 28 days of clarity, or maybe a few less, but close to 28 days of clarity to help get their lives back in order, as opposed to the daily buprenorphine that they have to go to a clinic to have administered. And so I am hopeful that there will be more conversations. That is one of the reasons that we are starting the Fentanyl and Opioid Task Force here in Auburn. It will be sponsored by Cities and Schools, which is Auburn, Algona Pacific, Green River College, and the Auburn School District. I encourage anyone who may be interested in being a part of that task force to please call our office, 253-931-3041, to get more information about how to apply. It's critical that we have people with lived experience, those who may have a loved one who has a substance use disorder, educators, police, first responders, other first responders, members of the community, business members. It is imperative that we have someone from all of the different areas so that we can come together, identify where the gaps are in the services that are provided, and how we can prevent young people from being addicted to such an ugly, ugly drug. So I encourage you to please think about getting involved. On Friday, January 26th, I had the honor of attending from the Consul General of India. They had a celebration at the Westin Hotel to welcome the new Consul General into Seattle, and with the goal of having their own consulate in Seattle in the very near future. What a lovely event filled with dancing from the different states in India. It was a fascinating evening, and we are welcoming the Consul General to Auburn. In fact, he came to meet with me just a couple of weeks ago. Also, let's see, what else? On Thursday, February 1st, I took the time to testify on Senate Bill 6076, which is a criminal justice local sales tax that cities would have the opportunity to implement councilmanic. It's a 0.3% sales tax that would be used for public safety. That includes law enforcement officers. It could be related to behavioral health and other critical components of public safety. We're thankful that it did make it to public hearing in the Senate. Unfortunately, the companion bill in the House did not make it out of its originating committee. So we are still hopeful that there is a chance in this session for some movement on the criminal justice local sales tax. And that will be my report for this evening. We do not have any reason for a closed or executive session this evening. We are adjourned.